Well,
Um,
you have to be careful because not all entities are beneficial. So let's say you're a plumber, Seattle Plumbing, and you say, well, I'm going to go to the entity database directly, Wikipedia, go to their plumbing page and pull all the entities. Well, they talk about, the origin of the word and lead and Roman aqueducts and, a lot of things you don't want on your Seattle Plumbing page.
right, for sure.
Um, so you really want to be selective and make sure that the collection of entities groups you into a topic that you want to be in, and that topic shouldn't be Roman history. Um, and the next thing is that there's two dimensions. It's not a one-dimensional thing. There are two dimensions. There's entity diversity, where how many different entities are you using? It's not about using the same 375 times each. You want to have some diversity. And then at some point, it is about how many times are you using them, but you want to go wide before you go deep. So I would focus on relevant diversity of entities first, and then go deep on the really important ones.
Oh, so you think so I have the first part right, getting the amount. I didn't think though of okay, now let's get a higher density of the entities now. So
Yeah,
not
and
just being diverse, but maybe even repeating a few,
yeah,
right?
and you have to be careful with your workflow because you're getting into a level of page optimization where the order in which you do things can really cause a problem. So at some point, you'll want to tune your exact match keyword density and your variant keyword density. The variant keywords are those words that Google makes bold when you search for your target term. Google saying, look how relevant the results are by bolding those variations. And so we collect those and measure those because those are the words that make your page relevant for the target keyword. So at some point, you want to tune for keyword density. But if you tune for keyword density first and then you tune your page for entities, you're going to mess up your keyword density and you're going to end up having to do that work twice. So you want to plan out all the work you intend to do to a page and make sure you do it in the right order so you don't have one mess up the other.
Well, that brings me okay. That's an interesting thought. So what you would take care of so the first thing is taking care of word count, take care of the amount of headings, figure out how many headings have the keyword in them, figure out the match words, the bolds, right?
Yep.
And then the exacts and the partials, right? Get that density up, and then you would move into entities.
Well, I would keep keyword density last because just about everything you do on page is gonna
Yeah.
alter keyword density. And so we find that keyword density, when properly tested, will actually sort your test cases by density descending. So it's
Ah,
really
interesting.
spooky to see it happen. And we've tested pages ranging from like 2% keyword density all the way up to 95% keyword density. Google was fine with indexing all of them, and they sorted them by density descending. And we were like, well, what if it's just the match count? What if it's the number of times you used it? So we added in test cases where we had 1,000, 2,000, all the way up to like 7,000 exact match keywords, but we kept those test cases all at 10% keyword density. They all slotted in right where
Right in order.
10% should be. So it's not how many times you use a keyword, it actually is the ratio of the keyword to the overall word count. Um, and it's very important that you consider that. It's one of the easiest ways to get a quick boost
For a
is
million
to
percent.
fix it. And there's this weird thing we see when people like prune content on a page. You get a lot of people saying, "Oh, prune content, it went up for me," and you get other people about
I like to add.
50% say, "Oh, I prune content and my page tanked." Well, why is it so 50-50? Well, if you take, a selection of text off the page, you're affecting your keyword density, probably in a random way.
For sure. Well, and then
So,
too, I think the areas matter.
yeah. So if you're not being mindful of keyword density and you prune the content, you're really just rolling the dice as to whether or not it goes up or down.
For sure.
So be mindful with how you prune content, and it can work. You can outrank skyscraper content with lower word count, higher density. That's the good news. You don't have to compete with that 30-page article in that way. And so I think for that reason, that's one thing that Google actually did well, is keyword density as a factor, as a relevancy factor, helps you get to the point and keep it small.
Absolutely. So I want to, so did you ever, in those areas that we know index, did you ever just put a keyword or an entity or a co-occurring phrase in any of those, in all those places, and it worked?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for the record, I'm going to go ahead and mention a 4-letter word to this community: LSI. LSI is just a term that SEOs created early on. We co-opted it inappropriately to mean, co-occurring words that appear on pages that rank well. That's all it means. And it's a relevancy thing. So if anybody is out there telling you that co-occurring phrases from the pages that rank well is not a thing in SEO, they don't know what they're talking about.
I agree.
So it's just a name. What that whole debate is about is just somebody doesn't like what it's called. And that's fine. You want to call it co-occurring phrases on pages that rank well, fine. It's the exact same thing by a different name. Don't tell me your name works and mine is, filthy web spam thing to rip people off.
I like to mix them up.
Thing.
Yeah, I like to mix them up. Sometimes I'll throw out LSI, sometimes co-occurring. It depends. It's fun.
Yeah, I see people being afraid to say LSI because some big voices came out being negative, and it's like, no, that's stupid. It should be a better name, sure, but it shouldn't be co-occurring phrases on pages that rank well. You need a better name than that. So if you want to rename it, you have my blessing, but it can't
Come up with something cooler. Yeah.
Yeah, it can't be a bad name.